you there, ever tried to do something in under 6 minutes? Anything, like say, grow a beard. I bet you can. At Sweet Pepper's Deli, you can quality food in under 6 minutes. Now, how about that? Sweet Pepper's Deli. Life is sweet.
If you drive on this, this is why.
Well, welcome in to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon on what has kind of been a dreary sort of day. The rain has at least fallen in some spots. In a few cases, perhaps some rainfall totals up in excess of half an inch. That's been about as high as we've been able to see, though our Mississippi Live Weather Radar is slightly more optimistic than that. We'll show you that there's still more rain on the way, which is a nice sign as we continue to actually track something for a change here in the Room to Room Weather Center that maybe will help out with the drought. Unfortunately, I believe Attala County now added to that list of burn bans, a list that unfortunately continues to grow. So while rainfall does continue Tuesday, let's temper expectations here for a moment. Probably not talking about very super significant amounts of rainfall going forward, but anything obviously makes a difference. We're looking at a midweek front that's going to bring a little bit of fall-like weather back. The stickiness has felt a little more summer-like the last day or so. That is not long-lasting. That will go back away. And we're getting you prepared for severe weather. This is actually severe weather preparedness week in Mississippi. And so we will talk a little bit about how to get you and your family ready, starting with a checklist of things that you need to be thinking about before severe weather is ever in the forecast. You can actually get it done. If you're like me, you know, once things start to get active, there's no time to really actually make anything happen. Outside right now at 8 to 10, we show up with that mix of clouds as the showers have moved out of Oktibbeha County largely there. Have that little bit of steaminess coming off the trees. I always love when we get that little shot there. Again, appreciate the North Mississippi Storm Chasers for their sponsorship. Of course, they're allowing us to use those cameras. They're a nonprofit, and any donations that you'd be willing to pass their way, I know certainly would make a difference as they continue to support this network here. Amory 79 right now, still mix of clouds, those showers closer, as you can see there on kind of our little radar inset. Not a lot on Mississippi Live Weather Radar there in Monroe County. Most of it's just a little bit to the west out toward Chickasaw County right now. And in Winona, you're in the clear, kind of in that zone where we just haven't had the rainfall at all today. That dew point a little higher there in the lower 70s. And again, that's that stickiness factor that's kind of enhanced things just a little bit. And then at least some rain droplets. And, well, our rainbow hunter there. What is Rainbow Wrangler? That's what we decided to call Caleb there. Not necessarily a true rainbow, but you're getting that prismatic effect off of a raindrop on the camera lens on the Mississippi State campus. 73 now that those showers have moved through. So hour by hour forecast. This shows lightning strikes. Let's be clear. That's just what the icon shows. Do I expect a lot of lightning? No. Could we have a couple of bolts? Not impossible. But mostly these are showers, and they're well below severe limits. And those temperatures don't drop much, from 77 at 7 to 73 by 10, 72 by 1 o'clock in the morning, and then low 70s to begin early tomorrow, which is way above the upper 50s, the mid 50s we should be for this time of year for low temperature. So running way above normal. That's a sign of that moisture that's helping to produce some of the showers that we do have around the region here. Looking at Mississippi Live Weather Radar, again, with that ground line you see there represents a trough of low pressure kind of working its way northward. And that's what's kind of produced these showers lifting up there. If you look closely, you kind of see just the littlest spin out there toward sections of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, kind of north of Greenville, west of Helena, West Helena, and that's kind of lifting sort of northward. That's loosely associated with this trough that you see here. I'm going to kick this over back to, say, the satellite perspective for just a moment here. We'll look at water vapor. It's kind of doing the opposite thing that we had last week. Remember we had that tropical system, I think at Idalia out there to the Atlantic, and we kind of had the dry air. There was this sharp cutoff. Well, we find ourselves in the moist zone here on our water vapor, as you can see kind of at the top there. More of kind of the grays and some of the greens showing up. So it's not extremely humid, but it's more humid. And so this trough kind of lifting some of that moisture around and just enough components to produce these showers. And I think we're in the zone. We kind of have this highway of moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico will continue to produce some rainfall in our area over the course of this evening and into tomorrow. But back to the north and west, you can see that front largely kind of trying to stall out, but this will start picking up a little bit of steam and bring some drier and slightly cooler air with it as it slides in from the north and west. To that point, when we look at the dew point, which is a measure of moisture based on the same scale as the temperature, you can see plenty of dry air back behind this. This is more the story than cold air, right? Because we do have this stickiness in advance. But if I kick this over here to show you the temperatures right now, yeah, it is a bit cooler behind this, but it's not an extreme drop, and it does go alongside, again, some showers that they have out that direction. But to give you, again, some perspective before we get too excited here, yeah, those are some 50s back behind it versus right at the front itself. Temperatures that are there into the upper 80s to, in some cases, low 90s. And then, of course, we are rain-cooled into the 70s back here in Mississippi and Tennessee and back up in the Mississippi Valley to the north out there toward Cincinnati, as you can see. So that's some of the showers we have kind of holding those temperatures largely down. So as we look ahead at Futurecast, we'll continue to have some of those showers moving northward. We'll look a lot more detail related to Mississippi Live Weather Radar here in just a minute, but showing again that moisture, you can kind of see it streaming right out of the Gulf of Mexico out of this. We'll continue to have showers again closest to the Mississippi-Alabama state line where they are the heaviest into tonight, just kind of rolling right out of the Gulf there, right? And then kind of wrapping around the backside of this system. So rain chances continue into this evening, but notice how these two lines get closer together. Our trough, kind of more of a mid-level wave kind of moving in. And then, of course, we have our front from the north and west. I think the front's going to dominate, and that's going to start shoving this through. As it does, the dry air will settle in. But we have one more day for your Tuesday where we're still going to have some meaningful moisture chances out of this as it sort of settles into the area. So as we look over the next 24, again, we're 70 degrees for tomorrow morning, way above the mid-50s we should be for this time of year. Rain coverage around 60 to 50% or so through the first part of the day there, diminishing a little bit more into the afternoon. But as you'll notice, that's not a huge swing in temperatures and fairly warm. So short sleeves probably still okay for the kiddos tomorrow as they head out to school or maybe you to work. I certainly want something to repel some of the water. We'll look at more detail related to that and just how that'll play out here in just a couple minutes. As in the 60 seconds, we're looking ahead at that school day forecast, some of the rainfall potential out of this, and the tropics. We're still not done with those. We have a system down there between 70 to 80% likelihood of becoming a full name system. Could it be Jerry? Where will it go? We're looking ahead at that. Live from the Room to Room Weather Center as Mississippi Live Weather at 6 continues right after this.
What would you give for a child you loved? To make their wish come true? To help them fight a critical illness? Just imagine what you'd do. Every single one of us can make the stars align, because when we come together, hope and joy will shine.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhawn.
Well, welcome back into the Room to Room Weather Center here for Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Appreciate all of you guys for joining us here, of course, on air on the Mississippi Live Weather app. Also, of course, looking live on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Checking the chat over there on YouTube. Looks like everybody having a good time here. Appreciate y'all in New Albany, Corinth for watching us, and everybody here that are kind of chiming in this evening. We'll talk a little bit more about, again, the tropics here in a minute, but we're looking outside right now in Pontotoc, where we show some showers moving toward our camera location there, mainly down to the south. Maybe a better shot of it actually from farther away down in the Oxford area right now. Look at that mix of cloud cover, a lot of dark clouds. No severe weather out of what we're expecting for tonight. It's just showers. We need the rainfall. How much will it be? One of the many questions that we will now answer as we bring it back here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Again, showing the heaviest of our showers, not as heavy as an hour ago. Let's put this into a loop. Let's make this 1 hour loop, and this batch moving northward about 25 to 30 miles per hour or so. I could track the leading edge of kind of the lighter rainfall, but instead I'm going to track, I think, the more heavy related stuff here because that's kind of the most likely to cause some impacts there. Let me kind of pull that like that. Let's pull that about, let's go 28 miles per hour. And you can see, again, in the shorter term here, we're looking close to around the Good Food area at 619. We're looking toward Prairie at about 621. Egypt close to about 623. I'll go and stop this on the latest scan. Not a lot of things that irritate me about Mississippi Live Weather Radar, but one of the things that take me a while to get used to is how that does adjust as it goes forward. Again, as we get into severe weather season, even the meteorologists getting prepared for that. We're going to talk about severe weather preparedness week and what you can do at this point come up here in a couple of minutes. But looking towards Springville there at about 628, Pontotoc 631 there, close to Okolona at 632, Nixon 638. Let's look farther downstream with this, assuming this kind of wave holds together. And again, this will not be severe, but assuming it holds together there. Again, Algoma, we show 620 there. Takapola at about 642. Ecru about 646 there. Thaxton 648. Shannon about 654. Verona at 703. And New Albany about 707. Now, if that were to continue all the way through, let's a 40-mile track, and so we get that through Tupelo, somewhere around 715 or so. There will be before that. So if you're expecting this to be the first drop, that's not what we're tracking. Rainfall arrives there. Myrtle about 723, and looking closer to Blue Mountain, South Tillo, around 730 for both those. Hickory Flat about 735. This has one of the things that Talk County, this was showing, hey, 0.8 of an inch, slice that in half. You have, so hopefully heading toward Pontotoc or Tupelo there as that kind of works its way northward. I know Okolona would take some of that as well. Not a lot of folks would turn it down at this point here as that batch extends there south. Louisville had a bit more a little earlier on. Bring it back here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar. We're watching again one of those showers, a little heavier, kind of moving into the Macon area, one of those spots that we looked at during our 5 o'clock. So let's look down there in Macon now. Some of that moderate rainfalls that kind of comes into play with this. And look at that. Nice to see some rain on the camera for a change there as showers are moving in. So at least we know it's getting to the ground. And listen, that's the first thing you have to check off, right? Again, the sun there back toward the horizon, again, shining through the backside of some of that rainfall that's kind of moving into and through the Macon area. This camera just a little bit south of town. That's part of the reason why it looks with the perspective like what we have it here as well. Again, appreciate the folks there at the North Mississippi Storm Chasers for working with us on this camera network. I'm going to check out our camera. Let's see if Caledonia has a decent shot on any of these showers as well. Still kind of a longer look away. And this is kind of what it looks like. If you're not directly under, it's like just kind of a cloudy, murky day. Still kind of hoping, still kind of praying to see a little bit of additional rainfall. So that one there as it heads northward. Again, through Macon at this point. Let's give you a time for that more moderate rainfall while there's a shower moving into Columbus right now. This next one still a little outside. Let's make that about a 60-mile track so we get that all the way in there. And give me a moment to do that. Actually, make that a 40-mile track. There we go. And so you can kind of see some of the times there as that works its way toward the Columbus area. We show that getting to Columbus proper about 7:17, Brooksville 7:30. We're looking Crawford 7:40, Artesia 7:58, and West Point about 7:26. Again, maybe a rumble. That's it. We're not talking about severe weather out of this as those moderate showers do extend south beyond this. And as I kind of switch our radar sight over here for a moment, we're going to go down to the one out of central Mississippi. And you can see more rainfall down toward Quitman. There's additional showers all the way down in the Gulf of Mexico. So it's not nonstop, but hey, at least we have some working northward, and that's a huge improvement off of where we have been recently. And I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of complaints on that as unfortunately drought conditions continue to expand. So your school bus forecast, some showers around for pickup. Again, that fetch of moisture down to the Gulf, working northward into the area. We're about 60% might be a little aggressive on that coverage for tomorrow morning. Drop off 83, a lesser quantity of showers. And while this does depict some lightning in there, most will be showers, not storms. And we are not talking about severe weather out of this setup. That is just not something that we are going to have, thankfully. Day planner for tomorrow, again, after starting off low 70s, typically for this time of year, we should, for low temperatures, be mid 50s. So way above that, almost 15 degrees above that, but only 5 above in the afternoon. And that is the effect of that moisture. Moisture kind of moderates temperatures. You don't have as big a swing. And so the showers and moisture with that kind of limiting us. That's why we're only mid 80s by the afternoon, just slightly above our normal for this time of year. Here's Futurecast. And again, into tonight, those showers remain fairly spotty. Let's kind of assess where things are at this point here. First off, I think it's okay on its positioning, maybe just a little too far to the west on where it's positioned this, because I know folks in Water Valley and Bruce are like, okay, hold on, Matt, where's that at? Unfortunately, it has not yielded much for you to this point here. But the general takeaway is we're going to continue to have moisture kind of circulating into this system. See the little spin out here towards Stuttgart, out there closer to Memphis, Forest City, Arkansas. Showers kind of rotating into the middle of this little disturbance. And so we'll continue to probably have those redeveloping and continuing here near the Mississippi-Alabama state line. So it's not impossible that we get somebody picking up an inch of rainfall or more out of this. Projections are way higher than that. And I'll show you that here in just a little bit, but it's a lesser, I'd say, confidence that we're quite that heavy. But the thing is that notice how you kind of had some of the same spots that entire time there between now and tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., that 12-hour period where we have these off and on showers. That's how maybe you get 2 inches or 3 inches of rainfall. Again, I have low confidence that happening for many people, but could there be that one? I think that's a possibility. And it won't be over my house. It'll probably be pretty close to Mississippi-Alabama state line if that were the case. Some spotty showers out farther to the east of that, but again, more mist than hit for a lot of those folks. The farther, to the west of that you go, the showers closest near the Mississippi-Alabama state line. So as you can see here, looking at those low temperatures, normal this time of year should be around 56 degrees. Instead, we're going to be around 70 for Tunica, 69 Senatobia, 68 there in Oxford. We're 70 for Columbus and for Starkville, about 68 Kosciuszko, and 70 degrees for Belzona. Our meteorologist Maggie McCauley will be tracking things from up in Senatobia tomorrow morning on Mississippi Live Weather in the morning show starting at 6:30 a.m. on the latest on where some of those showers are going to be the most likely. They will, in some cases, disrupt your morning commute and certainly probably extend it just a little bit as well. Here's a look at Futurecast. And as you'll note, we kind of take that trough off of there. Anytime you see one of those troughs, one of those brown lines, kind of dashed lines, that tells you it's enough lift to cause some showers, not enough temperature contrast to be like a cold front or something like that. So these showers, again, fairly unimpressive. Again, no severe weather out of these, but at least there's something on there. Showing a couple of showers trying to roll there toward Clarksdale and Shelby by around 10 a.m. Greatest of these, the heaviest of these, if I kind of come back over here, you'll notice kind of up into Tennessee where things are just a little bit more organized, a little more lift up that way, kind of helping them out there. We remain spotty with the rain chances through the day. We're noontime here, one heavier one, Noxubee County, a few others, again, near the Mississippi-Alabama state line. So this is where you can get 50% coverage of rainfall and it not be super heavy for a lot of spots and no severe thunderstorms. These are all, again, fairly small. But the blue line you see coming behind me there, that is our cold front. And that front, as it slides in from the north and west, is going to help to agitate things and produce some more thunderstorms or showers, maybe storms. Again, that might be overdoing it. But I will say this does look a little heavier from Russellville down toward Amory than it did during our 5 o'clock broadcast there. So that's where, again, we keep that lightning strike on that hour by hour on what we're looking at as the potential to maybe see some lightning out of these showers and storms. High temperatures to around 82 degrees in Oxford, 84 in Water Valley. We're going to be about 86 in Eupora, 84 for Tupelo and Amory. And our normal this time of year is right at 80. Record high is 95. Obviously, nowhere near that. I say nowhere near, but honestly, we're only, 11 degrees away from that in Tupelo and Amory for tomorrow. The rainfall, though, keeps those temperatures down to a large extent from where they necessarily would be. Now, Futurecast, our strike model here, not quite as aggressive on the rainfall, does start to dry things out. I think it is underdoing rainfall just a little bit. But the takeaway, pretty simple here. As this front rolls into the area, it'll start shoving the drier air in. A few isolated showers near that front, a possibility. We're showing a few of those here in the early morning hours of your early Wednesday morning. But again, that's where our 20% comes in on Wednesday. A lot of us probably in the dry category. And as that slides away down to the south, we get northerly winds, drier air, cooler air. So all of these things kind of layering up to where it feels a little bit cooler as we go into and through your day on your Wednesday there. And so gradually that'll be cooler air and drier air that continues to settle in as we head into your Thursday and then Friday. And actually could have some mid-50s for morning lows by the weekends, which is where we should be for this time of year and where we actually will be, maybe lining up for your weekend. So here's hoping for those folks that are wanting a little more dose of fall. I know we need a lot more rainfall. A little wave trying to get closer to us, just not impressive enough to produce much in the way of precipitation there. Wednesday's highs, again, we'll look in the tropics in a minute on how that could play out. But Wednesday's highs, probably about 79 New Albany, 78 degrees in the Water Valley area, where 81 degrees Tupelo, 79 Eupora, 82 Greenwood, and about 84 Greenville. 7-day forecast. Again, 72 in the morning, we're 80 degrees by noon, and about an 84 at 5 p.m. Rain coverage probably reaches its peak earlier in the day, trying to diminish somewhat more into the afternoon and evening. Those are mainly very spotty. Some heavy rainfall in a couple of portions there. Here's hoping it ends up over top of one of us. And then beyond that, unfortunately, very limited rainfall on Wednesday. Thursday, we're looking around 80 degrees for that high, 80 degrees as we head toward your Friday and Saturday. Those mid-50s on the way, though, as you can see, by Saturday morning and Sunday morning, a bit cooler. So definitely more manageable for those low temperatures in the extended forecast. But even then, I mean, is it really not that manageable with some upper 60s? It's not extreme, but at some spots, again, low 70s the way we'll begin early morning for tomorrow. Okay, coming up here in a minute, we're going to look again at some rain chances. We're also going to dig into severe weather preparedness week and look ahead at what's going on in the tropics as Mississippi Live Weather at 6 continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center live right after this.
Tupelo Smiles is a top-notch group. They're very compassionate about what they do. They've given me the smile that I've always wanted. I've been a patient for 15 years and I wouldn't go anywhere else. I just love Tupelo Smiles.
1 in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Well, welcome back here to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Appreciate Diane for sending in. Let me get that mouse cursor off of there. Sending in this beautiful sunset shot, I believe from last evening related to this. We might have a few spots, especially Golden Triangle southward, where we have the chance for a shot like this. You can, of course, send yours in using the Mississippi Live Weather app. That's what Diane did. We have a cool promotion come up here that it's one of those, we'll talk more about it as we get closer because now we're in severe weather preparedness week. But that's a chance for you to submit your hail pictures and win money from True Shield Roofing. We'll talk more about that here as we get a little closer. But it's one of the main ways we're trying to get some Mississippi kind of cool folk going forward. Let's look here at rainfall chances, and we kind of talked about this with the 7-day forecast. They just completely fall off a cliff. So if we don't see it tonight, and you don't see it tomorrow, unfortunately, rainfall over the next 24 hours. Spots near the Mississippi-Alabama state line with decent rainfall amounts. We see some oranges here, as you can see, our projection. I mean, yellow's there, orange is kind of darker orange there. Somewhere more than 2 inches of rainfall. Quite a legitimate chance if we can get what we call training. And training is where we get the showers kind of joining, like cars on rainfall of one after the next. That's kind of the way disturbances down in the tropics of interest, of great interest, honestly. This one could become Jerry. Likelihood is over the next 2 days, 70% chance of this becoming a full-fledged named system as it is, kind of working its way from the west back toward east, back toward the west, that backward direction that we typically deal with this time of year. Gotta get my directions right in my mind there. But anyway, working its way back toward Bermuda, 80% chance over the next 7 days. Another disturbance we're watching, only 10% chance of becoming something more significant down here into the southern Gulf of Mexico. Neither of those disturbances terribly impressive. We're gonna look at this a couple of different ways here for a moment. Looking at that moisture there, you can kind of see the future atmospheric moisture one way. We just kind of see the big balls of moisture, tells us where the weather is most active there. Again, that's the one spot that we're watching, but you can see out here into the Atlantic, a couple locations here where we have some circulation, but clearly this is where we expect Jerry to potentially develop. As you can see, kind of working its way north and west and looking fairly strong. But what is this big brown up here, right? That is our cold front. The front that's going to bring us more manageable temperatures up here is also going to bring drier air with this. And what that does is that starts shoving its way toward the south and east. The trough associated with that kind of helps to change the angle of this. And so that tropical system hopefully stays out here into the Atlantic. You can see kind of more of a mid-level disturbance there that kind of lifts through as we go into the extended forecast. That is not one that is of any sort of lower level or tropical nature. One of the things that should keep, whatever this becomes, it becomes Jerry, which is in all likelihood what it could potentially be. That's likely to stay out to the east of us as a result of that. So knock on wood that is the case farther out there. We kind of assess the health of that. Couple ways we can do that. I got to come back here, Mississippi Live Weather Radar, and we're going to east IR, and we'll go out there into the ocean to sort of take a look at that. I'm going to have to go a little wider on that. I have to go full disc. Yeah, there we go, out in the Atlantic. So, I mean, that's still a pretty decent, conglomeration of some showers out there. A couple areas disturbed weather. We always look for them to kind of come off of Africa this time of year, work their way across the Atlantic, which is a slow process. So still some disturbances out there. Peak of hurricane season is, the first part of September. So we're past that by about a month almost at this point here. But the end of hurricane season is the end of November. So we still have plenty of time ahead, unfortunately, that we're going to have to kind of continue to monitor things as far as that is concerned. We kind of talked about this a minute ago here. The trend towards some drier weather after what we have coming in the short term here. Let's look at some of those climactic expectations. We looked at a 6 to 10 day outlook as far as temperatures are concerned. We continue to be well above our normal for this time of year. There's no shock over the next week or so. I'll step off here for just a moment so you can kind of see full blown there. But yeah, it definitely looks like a lot of us are going to continue to be way above normal as far as temperatures are concerned for the entire really central eastern parts of the United States. So the pattern just not really changing as far as that is concerned. Now, precipitation, unfortunately, tends to be our dry time of year, but this is giving you even a comparison to what we tend to have. So unfortunately, dry remains the overall weather story. We'll look farther out, 8 to 14 day forecast related to that coming up at 10 o'clock tonight on Mississippi Live Weather. But certainly those are indications of something that we continue to be dry. And the pattern's largely tranquil. But here's the deal. We're working our way toward a severe weather season. No question about that, unfortunately. And this is Severe Weather Preparedness Week in Mississippi. I'm sorry, I got some kind of tickle I can't get rid of there. Maybe that's the dirt and the dust trying to produce something that is allergenic in nature. Hopefully not the case, but that's always something that, goes along with the drier weather that we have. Let me see if I can make this full screen so I can make that just a little bit bigger for you. There we go. So again, with Severe Weather Preparedness Week, I know there's no severe weather going on now, but the reason we do it now is because once severe weather's on the way, we're dealing with it. We're not preparing for it, right? So the thing we want you to do is be making your plans now. And so I'd encourage you to maybe take a screenshot of this if you're watching on Facebook or whatever, so that you can start planning ahead for what your severe weather preparedness would look like. So that means monitor weather updates, follow instructions from local authorities, and have multiple ways to receive alerts. Though that's a huge part of this, because if you know where and you're informed and you know where to go, that you need to go at all, then you're going to be okay. But a big part of this is starting to develop an emergency kit. And there's at ready.gov, which is a government website. I can show you that here in a minute. You can find out more information on putting together your severe weather preparedness kit. You want to make sure you have water, non-perishable food if possible there, first aid supplies, flashlights, battery. You want to make sure you have important documents such as insurance information, all this in the same spots so that, medications, I don't think I mentioned medications on that list there, but medications so that you have everything you think you need to make it a day or two in a location. I understand you might not want to let your medication expire in that spot, or you might have your insurance documents someplace else, but you need to have that list ready so that when severe weather becomes a possibility, 2 days, 3 days before, we gather all of that into one spot so we're not running around at the last second trying to pick that up. I remember that happened a time or two at the Law Pond House growing up, and that's not easier. Of course, know your safe place. Where is your safe place? We talk about that all the time, identifying that location. And I don't know. Let's try this here for a second. This might be a bad idea. Let's walk to my safe place, shall we? We're just going to take this thing, my camera, off of there. We're going to walk in my house to my safe place. And I think this should stay connected. I don't know for sure my microphone will, but we'll find out. So, safe place at the Law Pond House. One place you don't want, and we wouldn't want the case. We could do, again, I'm going to show you all the dirty spots and get in trouble with Miss Law Pond here, is this closet that's partially underneath the staircase, right? This takes a lot of reinforcing to make a staircase work. That would be one location that we could do there. This also partially, it's kind of surrounded by the staircase more than under it. Wouldn't probably go there. But I designed, when we built the house, we knew we were going to have a shelter in there, and so that's what we ended up doing. So my question for you is, where is your safe place? That's an assessment that you have to make. Give me a moment here so you can see all my behind-the-scenes stuff. Y'all see Duke down there trying to trip me the whole show. Thank you, Duke. Yeah, he's real concerned about it. Okay, get all my stuff off camera there. As you got to see a little bit of my behind-the-scenes studio here for a moment. But yeah, so you need to make sure you know where your safe place is, okay? And then, of course, be prepared for power outages. That's why we need the battery backups and things of that nature. Generator's great. We do have battery backup here at the house for a chunk of that, and of course back at the studio as well. So again, be making that checklist. We'll be talking about severe weather preparedness week as we go through the week and different things that you can do to keep you and your family safe as we're thinking ahead related to that. Other thing that, of course, we are tracking and talking about, watching very, very closely is our Mississippi Live game of the week. Again, it's week 7 here, and I'm logged in as Gabe on this computer that we're showing you there. That's why he's the one able to do all and entrance on a lot of fun in Tishomingo County at this point here. So I think there's some good locations there on the list. The only issue is Tishomingo County versus South Pontotoc. Now, I might be willing to make a pass on South Pontotoc, showing them again fairly soon, just because I didn't make it to South Pontotoc. I was out of town last time we went to South Pontotoc, so I'd like to catch up with those folks. I feel kind of guilty we didn't see them then, so that might end up making the list here. So let me put that down. And again, super sophisticated way I'm logging this right there. on my handy dandy sticky notes. So Tisch versus Southpaw. Okay, could that be it? We'll see. Leave your suggestions in the comments and we will select at least the top 3. We did top 4 last week. We'll probably do top 3 again. If there's 2 that I'm like, those are pretty close tie, then we might go with that. But we're trying to make it the new places as much as possible to give as many folks as possible a chance to end up here on Mississippi Live, as we're excited for that. But again, as we kind of bring it back here into the weather part of the Room Weather Center here for a moment. We're looking at dry conditions, in the extended, but still some showers out there now. We'll do one more look at Mississippi Live Weather Radar here for a moment as we kind of bring it in a little closer back here. Check out some of those showers. The thing is that while we have some moderate rainfall, some heavy rainfall in some cases, I don't show a single lightning strike, as you can see there next to me on the screen right about there. So no lightning strikes out of this. So a sign that this is, again, non-severe sort of weather. We'll bring it back into the closest radar, which would be out of Monroe County. And we'll put this into a loop for you there. And again, showing moderate rainfall already through Brooksville there and X Prairie moving through McLeod. But again, this is non-severe. And rainfall amounts have been 1/4 inch or less out of really any of the heavier showers there. So that's moving toward Columbus. We'll give you a arrival time there based on kind of the latest positioning now in Columbus. Right about there. 27, 28 miles per hour. So that goes West Point about 724. Whiteberry about 725. So we're in the neighborhood there of around 730 or so for Columbus in all likelihood. Let's see if I can thin down the number of locations showing up. Of course, we're over top of Prairie Point at 646, Crawford 641, Brooksville 638, all with this. Mayhew about 705. So let's change this over and we'll kind of knock at some bigger spots there. Yeah, we show 728 in Columbus. Again, a lot of those neighborhoods are in the Columbus area that we were mentioning a moment ago there. And then just moderate rainfall. That one storm there still close to Okolona that we're looking at. We'll track that one. Right there, moving toward Jolly and Gibson. 26, 27 miles per hour. And I'll kind of clean up this batch as well there down to Okolona. It's 750, Shannon at 709. We're looking at Verona at 721, 727 Plantersville and Tupelo around 730 or so. So it's similar timing to what we looked at a little bit ago. Interesting question coming in a second ago here. And let's talk about this for a second. And I'm going to have to go back on my Facebook page from earlier to see if I can find this. So give me just a moment. Someone was asking about this. So the National Weather Service has gone back and they've done an assessment of a tornado from earlier this year in North Dakota. So this would be the first EF5 tornado in the last 13 years, I believe. A lot of people, ask the question, would the EF5 drought ever end? Because we've had some significant ones. We had Rolling Fork. We had, oh gosh, why am I thinking of it? The Kentucky tornado from a couple years back. We've had some big tornadoes over the last 3 or 4 years, and they've all been EF4 in rating. This was a huge collaboration between both academics, the National Weather Service, and folks from even beyond this country. As you can see there, Canada Severe Storms Laboratory was helpful in this. How do they assess something is so bad, that it reaches EF5 level? In this case, it had to do with the train derailment and the way in which train cars were thrown, the distance they were thrown, the way in which that was affected, to a certain extent, tree debarking. So to answer your question, Gabriel, what's my opinion of this? I mean, I believe it because ultimately, these wind engineers do a great job, and it's not just guessing. In some cases, they have, we have, I know back when I was in West Texas, one of the things that the wind researchers did there at the Texas Tech Wind Science Center was, they would literally take objects and project them into other objects. It's part of the way we got the EF scale to begin with, was some of the research they did. So, I mean, I firmly believe that it's fine. You know, I think I agree with it, because those researchers didn't just willy-nilly pull this out of the air. So it's incredible the kind of forensic wind damage assessments that we can do nowadays. And, you know, obviously thoughts and prayers with the families of the 3 folks that died in that tornado there. But yeah, that's right. Over a mile wide where that was, on the ground for 12 miles. And the other thing that is noteworthy, you know, that was, you know, on the ground for 12 miles and only on the ground for about, 19 minutes there. So the fact that it was at night, though, always something that scares meteorologists when you have one that strong at night. Certainly scary. The last one was not Smithville. I believe it was it El Reno, or was it, it would have been El Reno, right? I think. I'm going to double check that. I think it was El Reno, and I'll have to double check that. See, that's why I should answer that on the fly. Give me a moment. No, it was Moore. I'm sorry. Moore on May 20th. Because I think El Reno was... Hold on. No, it was El Reno. I don't know. Have to double check it. Oh, that's right. They downgraded El Reno. Yeah, it's, again, this is why this is such a sticky topic for some people, is the upgrade, downgrade. They're going just off the radar data. I think damage, we have always graded tornadoes based upon their damage, right? How much damage they produce. And so that's the tricky part about when you start including radar data and saying, okay, the radar said it was this fast, hence that's the reason why we are going with this wind speed rating on it. I think the damage clearly in this case, when we're starting to talk about the Enderlin tornado, the damage spoke for itself. They went back and used damage assessments. They looked at tree debarkment and sandpapering effects. You know, but a really interesting paper came out a few years ago talking about, you know, we had the twin tornadoes in, what year was it? You know, the Jimmy Kimmel night that people always talk about? Well, after that incident moving through the Starkville area, that same storm produces a tornado that moved near Hamilton, Mississippi. I'll go back to, and I wonder, there's no real good way to pull up the data from it at this point, but there were twin tornadoes very near, right over top of the radar site in Monroe County. And what ends up happening is the strongest of those forms just north of the radar site. And the tree fall patterns are very significant, to the point that while that I think rated as, was an EF0, EF1 tornado, if you look at just the amount of tree fall that you had based on that, the percentage, there are some indications that it should be much, much higher, closer, at least high-end EF3, if EF4, maybe even EF5 in strength. But again, tree fall percentage is not something that's officially in the EF scale at this point here. So it's an evolving science, obviously, and kind of an interesting topic. So I appreciate you bringing that one up there, Gabriel. And yeah, hopefully some other folks at home found that information somewhat interesting as we talked about it. All right. Again, our next broadcast here on Mississippi Live Weather is coming up tonight at 10 p.m. here from the Room to Room Weather Center. Again, we're looking at, again, the progression of some of these rain chances. How much have we seen at that point? We love to show some of your weather pictures. You can share those with us, weather watchers, using the Mississippi Live Weather app, free and available for all those different devices. And of course, we will, you know, kind of have an assessment on how much rainfall we could continue to see. But thank you for joining us again here at 6 o'clock. We'll see you at 10.
At Room to Room, the VIP sale's here. And for a limited time, enjoy an extra 10% off Row furniture. From classic neutrals to bold statement pieces, Row gives you modern style with timeless comfort. Don't miss the VIP sale happening now, only at Room to Room Tupelo.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.